Today, I want to talk about the record of interview for an individual testing positive during compulsory drug testing. And this is in connection with pro forma issued April 2019, and it's Annex G of AGI 64. In my previous video, I spoke about the initial personal letter that an individual will receive from the compulsory drug testing team at Pewsey in Wiltshire, informing them that they have tested positive for a controlled substance, when the CDT test was taken, where it was taken, what the controlled substance was, and that it will then be for their commanding officer to take any disciplinary action. Now, following that letter, there is then the commanding officer's interview, and it's that interview that I want to talk about today. And the interview is supposed to be very structured. It's set out pro forma April 2019, and it's the record of that interview that I want to talk about. It's 14 questions long. The interview, some people might say, doesn't flow naturally. So there are questions that seem out of sync. There are spaces for individuals to have a witness signed halfway down the page. There are big gaps in the pro forma, presumably for things to be written, but it's not quite clear. So it's a bit of an odd document, but it's an important document because it's the record that the individual will be given to take away with them, having been told that they have failed the CDT test, and the record of their interview with their commanding officer. So it's 14 questions long. Some of the questions fairly straightforward. For example, identity, identifying who the person is, informing them that they are entitled to an assisting officer. Then there are other questions that don't quite seem to follow. For example, midway through the questioning, they're then invited to sign the form. The witness is invited to sign the form. It doesn't quite flow. It doesn't quite make sense why that would appear then, but there you have it. That's the form as it currently stands, April 2019. The key point on the form, though, is the question concerning what the individual wants to do. And it seems that they have three choices. The first choice is whether they want to admit taking the controlled substance. They have 48 hours then to prepare a statement if they do. And then there's a great big space in the box, presumably if the commanding officer wants to write something in to say that they've admitted taking whatever substance. Don't quite follow that, but there you are. The second option is to deny taking the substance, and again they can have 48 hours in which to give a prepared statement explaining what was going on. The third option is for them to elect to have the B sample taken. Now, I'm not quite certain why the B sample can't be taken as well as a decision to challenge taking the prescribed substance in the first place. So I don't see that the two are mutually exclusive. It could be possible to say, I deny taking the controlled substance, and also I want the B sample tested. I don't see that the two are mutually exclusive. Equally, it might be possible to say that you admit taking the substance and still want the B sample taken. I don't see why in principle that couldn't be allowed. So the form doesn't quite make clear. It seems to be either or, but it seems that there's no reason why you couldn't ask for 48 hours to prepare a statement and also say that you wanted the B sample taken at the same time. Final question, question 14, is a whole list of matters to address in any prepared statement. Other matters on the form include appointment of an assisting officer. The individual is entitled, if they wish, if they're not happy with the assisting officer that they're appointed, to request a different assisting officer. This is a bit like a summary hearing. And it also makes clear that the whole process is administrative, not disciplinary. So this is not a matter that will go to court-martial, to summary appeal court, or anything of that nature. A CDT test failure is administrative. If an individual has been found to have a positive test for a controlled substance, that is an administrative matter that may result in discharge and Ag I-64. It's not a matter, for example, that an individual can elect to have court-martial for. And the reason for that is quite simple. Having drugs or a residue of drugs in urine is not a criminal offence. Having drugs found in your property, in your barrack room, whatever, that is a criminal offence. That could be dealt with at summary hearing or court-martial. Having a record that drugs might have been taken from a urine sample, that is not a criminal offence, and therefore that wouldn't be dealt with at court-martial or summary hearing. That's why it's administrative, not disciplinary. So the whole form, 14 questions long, it doesn't flow naturally. The individual is given a copy of the form to take away. The commanding officer signs it, the witness signs it, the assisting officer signs it, and the service individual signs it. They're then entitled to take a copy of the form away. They can look at the form. They can obtain legal advice at their own expense if they want to in connection with the form. And it's that opportunity then for them to prepare a statement, either that they've admitted taking the prescribed substance, or they've denied it, or they want to have the B sample taken. So that's the form in outline. It's a confusing form. It doesn't flow naturally, but that's the form that the individual is given to take away in order to prepare their statement explaining their version of events. And it's that I want to talk about next.